Hello my Sugar Plum family, welcome back to Sugar Plum Sweet Tart. Today I'm going to walk you through my New Year's cake for 2020. This cake is made with vanilla layers and champagne meringue buttercream. I'll be uploading both recipes soon, so stay tuned. When frosting my cake layers, I like using an angled or offset spatula. I find the angle of the spatula a lot easier to use than a straight icing spatula. I'll include a link in my description box down below. I wanted this cake to be really tall, so I stacked 5 layers of cake, making sure my last layer was added upside down. For my crumb coat, I like to start by putting the frosting on the top and having it overflow off the sides. Make sure you're putting frosting between the gaps of the cake layers and no part of the cake is visible. You don't need a whole lot of frosting, just enough to secure the crumbs. I like to use my large offset spatula to smooth out the sides as much as I can. This makes it easier to smooth out your next layer of frosting. I scrape off the excess frosting from the top and then pop the cake in the freezer for about 15 minutes. When I add the final layer of frosting, I typically like to use a piping bag because it helps me keep the amount of frosting consistent. This is a Wilton 789 tip. I like it a lot because I think it adds a perfect amount of frosting. It also has a texture side as well for a different kind of look. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Using my small angled spatula, I fill in the gaps with extra frosting. I then smooth out the side using my bench scraper. I continue this process until I'm fully satisfied with my cake. Sometimes it can take upwards of 20 minutes. It's important to be gentle and to only remove a small amount of frosting at a time with the bench scraper. I find a tighter angle between the bench scraper and the cake works best. Also, make sure you're constantly cleaning off the excess frosting, otherwise you won't get the desired look. If you want a more in-depth tutorial on how I smooth out my sides, comment below and let me know. To give the overflow effect, I add a little mountain of frosting on the top of the cake. I smoothed it out at an angle to make it look like a spill. I then inserted the champagne glass into the cake. My cake was very chilled, so it was a little hard to get it into the cake. I poured some ganache on the top of the cake. Using my small angled spatula, I evenly spread it out. I couldn't get some ganache in the very back of the glass, so I covered the back of the glass with some ganache. Using a piping bag, I added the ganache strips. I wasn't too particular about the color since I would be painting the drips later on. Normally, I slowly add the drips to create a more controlled look. For this cake, I just went a little crazy since I wanted it to look like a spill. Once the drips had set, I painted them champagne gold. I'm using edible paint and food-safe brushes. Both will be linked in the description box below. Painting the drips took a little longer than I expected. It also took more paint than I expected, but I was super in love with the look. For the narrower part of the drips, I used a smaller brush and switched to a larger one for the tops of the drips. A full detailed blog post on how to recreate this super fun New Year's cake is up on sugarplumsweettart.com. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more tutorials, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, my Sugar Plum family.